Hey, podcast listeners, before the show starts, just a quick trigger warning. In this episode of Picard, there is a visual that might be a little bit jarring. It has to deal with a specific type of suicide, specifically hanging. So if this is something that you would like to avoid listening to, we will put in the description where the trigger warning starts and ends, so that way you can skip through it. And also, if you haven't watched this episode of Picard yet, we would highly recommend skipping over parts of it too.
Captain's Pod, Stardate 2015-22.2. Welcome aboard the Starship's Enterprise, and thank you for joining us as we take a brief shore leave from the world of CinemaSins to explore the universe of Star Trek. I am your Captain Ian Whittington, and with me, as always, is the dematerializing Ambassador Deneé.
Okay, so in the outtakes, we watched something pretty disturbing Star Trek related.
Yep.
Dematerializing, does that mean I made it through or didn't make it through?
Both can be
transporter.
true. So what's left of you dematerialized, but fortunately it didn't live long.
Okay. I guess if this is my last moment, I have a lot to say.
What are your last words other than
Iris, I love you. I hope there's enough of me out there that you got to know me a little bit.
No, you're breaking up. Sorry, we didn't get that last message.
God damn it.
God damn it. Okay, let's get into what's happening. Last week, Picard and Guinan...
It's so fucking dark. You're just moving on.
Yeah, sorry.
Jesus.
Oh, did we have more words?
Oh
sorry.
my God.
No, we made a little hologram
no.
of you that we'll show to Iris.
There are moments in time when you realize, who your captain really is.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of them.
This is it.
I'm just sitting down and I am ready to deboard.
To deboard? That's not a word.
I'm ready to boardless.
Boardless?
I'm ready to
Unboard?
get the fuck off this ship.
Depart?
That's the one.
There we go. Permission denied.
You need to move that drink though, because you're
I
about
know,
to.
it's right next to the board.
Aaron will fucking flip his shit.
He loves it when I pass him drinks over his board. It's great. So moving on from it's really, really quick. Imagine if all that was left of you was Babs. That was the only frame of reference that we had was Babs.
Is there anyone who listens to Captain's Pod who knows about Babs?
So
well
Babs
enough?
is a character from Wild RP that Deneé has created and plays in an online, massively role-playing game.
Yeah.
And Babs is... I would just look at Deneé's Twitch channel and look up some clips of Babs, and that will give you enough context to know that it's probably not what you want to be... The
remembered
only thing
for?
that you want to be remembered for. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not my best legacy, but
I think it's fantastic. Just not your only legacy.
I would prefer to have a little bit more context out there.
Yes.
This is fucking morbid.
Yeah. It's fine. It'll get better. Just wait for Picard.
Oh, God.
So last week... Picard and Guinan are interrogated by...
Oh, my God, Picard.
This is
such a
Hello,
dick.
Babs. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Sure. The show has become where we know that we're going to go into watch a show that we're like genuinely worried for.
Yes.
And so it's like, let's have as much fun as we can because I have worries.
This is likely the only fun we're going to have this week.
Oh,
I can
God, I hope
almost certainly say that.
Yeah. So just to recap real fast, the fun we've had at the top of the show so far is imagining my death, where the only thing remaining for my child to know of me is a crass character that I made for a video game roleplay world.
That's the highlights.
Shit.
It's downhill from here, people. Oh, amazing. Until you get to the outtakes, then it gets really dark. Okay, last week, Picard and Guinan are interrogated by an FBI agent that we assumed was a time agent, but was not. His goal was to uncover the aliens on Earth after a Vulcan visitation in his childhood. Raffi and Seven confront Queen Agnes, who escapes and joins forces with Adam Sung to raise a Borg army. Q meets with Guinan. Guinan gets a nosebleed. Q maybe gives away some of his plan that we'd already pretty much guessed. Rios continues to bond with people he shouldn't bond with.
Yes. Also, Renee and Laris.
Off into the sunset.
We don't know. Haven't seen them.
Picard's trauma. Off into the sunset.
Not Soji. Off into the sunset. And Elnor's still dead.
Elnor's still dead. This week, I think Elnor will still be dead. Raffi and Seven will still be arguing. Picard and Guinan will still be trying to save the present. Agnes and Adam Sung will try to invade the La Sirena. I do think that not Laris and Renee are going to turn up again. I think the focus is going to be on drama with the Europa launch. And we're going to have battle at La Sirena juxtaposed against trying to get the Europa to launch and get that mission underway. And who knows what the rest of the cast is doing.
I'm nervous about the Europa launch because part of me is like, please don't tell her that Renee needs to go on this mission to save the future, because she's already under so much pressure. Like, that's the worst thing you could tell someone
100%.
who has anxiety and is already freaking out. Like, oh, by the way, the future of mankind is in your hand.
That's not the motivating thing you think it's going to be. It's going to absolutely ruin her. Yeah. What I would actually like to see, and I think it might go this way, is that Rios, Seven, Raffi, and the kid and the nurse, they're going to do like a Home Alone thing where they have to set up the defenses of La Sirena,
wouldn't it?
And some booby traps that are around it, because that is fun, and it wipes that bit of the cast out for the entire episode, just setting up and preparing for battle. This is my ship and I will defend it.
Yeah, because we're going to have like a Borg attack this time.
Yeah, or next time.
We hope. Well, there's only this and one other, right?
There's only 2 left.
So it's... I remember when you first said that we weren't going to go back to space until the very end, and I really hoped you were wrong.
Yep.
Please let the entire last episode at least be in the actual timeline.
No chance.
Oh, God.
I think they'll do the thing where they resolve this in the first half of the episode, and the second half is 7 endings for everybody.
No.
Which will be in the main timeline.
Like Lord of the Rings style.
Like Lord of the Rings style. Yeah. With that, we will see you guys for a full debrief in 10 forward after we have watched episode 9. The season penultimate of Star Trek Picard. Computer. You know what? We're going to take a shuttle this time.
Can we walk?
Yeah, we're not.
I don't want to transport. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab something from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched together. Most important question first. What would you like from the replicator, Ambassador?
Something alcoholic.
Again? I thought we were moving away from beverages.
I'm having a raspberry beret latte.
Nice.
Which is white chocolate, raspberry, or as you say, raspberry.
No. Raspberry?
Raspberry.
Blueberry.
There's no berry.
Say blueberry.
No, you say blueberry.
Do we say blueberry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, blueberry muffin. Yeah.
Anyway. And yeah, like maybe just a shot of something.
Little shot of whiskey in there to make it Irish coffee. Yeah. I've decided not to eat because I can't be bothered.
Or because you're going to immediately cough it across the room.
There's no point. All it does is aggravate. That's a word.
Aggravate.
Yeah, the aggregate of the food aggravates my esophagus. Okay, this week we kick off quick sharp with an invasion of La Sirena, another dive into Picard's memories, and lots of shooting and fighting, and a deal is met. Ambassador, overall thoughts, no specifics just yet, this episode. Are we going up? Are we going down? How are you feeling?
Meh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was meh for me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of more, I guess, a plateau at this point. I don't know that
Leveling
it went
out.
up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it went down because it had action. It had some more, insights maybe into character motivations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that helps.
It had some development in specific areas, like with the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
You said not to get into specifics, so I think it's more plateau.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel the same. I had more fun because it was, the caveman side of my brain was like, yay, action. And that was, the pacing was really good. There wasn't too much getting bogged down until the very, very end. So it went along at quite a clip. But again, yeah, it was just very meh action, very meh character development, very meh resolving things, and a very meh finale into the actual finale. I am just not excited about what's happening next. I'm not excited about this episode. I think they've resolved a lot in this episode that we were waiting on, that the problem is we've already guessed all of this, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing, but you have to enjoy the delivery, and the delivery just isn't fun. The delivery mechanism is like just a big old wet spaghetti.
This episode is asking us to look at Q and Borg Queen's motivation to usurp Renee's plan and believe that our crew has convinced the people in the scenarios to now be like on our side, essentially, which sets our timeline back where it's supposed to be, I think. So yeah, there's still this mystery in the future, like for next episode, as far as how they're going to solve the puzzle of this Europa mission, which means they have to solve the Europa mission and get back to our beginning of the season in one episode. So once again, you're probably right that it only exists for the last little wink and nod at the end.
Yep.
So yeah, Yeah, there's action in this, but it doesn't really do a lot for me.
No, ditto, which was it was really damp squibby, the action. Like, man, okay, so first of all, the episode kicks off super, super fast. An army of Borg beam in. They beam in directly to the ship. Rios and co have to escape. And before we get to the credits, there's, holy shit, how do we take back the ship? What's the plan? And my prediction, like, it came true, but then it fucking didn't.
Well, you said that they were going to have to lay traps and and it did happen, but it happened with our people in the chateau rather than on the ship.
But no, that wasn't even traps. Like Seven says, like, this is what we have to do. We got to lay traps and we got to do like guerrilla tactics and use our things to our advantage. And no, it doesn't. They just run around. They run around and then they regroup. And it is so much the writers being like, we need to get our characters to this point. How do we do it? We need to get Raffi and Seven on the ship so that they can have the big moment with the Borg Queen. We need to get not Laris and Picard in the chateau to do the memories. How do we get them there? And this entire season feels contrived. That's the word for it. It's contrived. They had the destination in mind and the journey has been put to the wayside.
That's in individual episodes as well as overarching.
Because
you're getting the feeling at this point that their idea is, okay, we're going to start off this season. There's going to be an encounter with the Borg, but it's a Borg that is actually like good Borg. They're going to be like for our good. And so how do we have this interesting moment where we reveal that it's Girardi or someone else?
Yeah.
TB. And then it's like, okay, yeah, okay, cool. So then by the end, they'll go back and then it's like, okay, so what are we going to do in the middle?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how the episodes feel too. Like, for example, you've got, and this would certainly be a sin, but you've got like this moments where Rios is in the ship with mom and son, and we've just seen Borg beam in from, like, they're in the field. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And he's like, we got to get out of the ship and we got to get over. And the next scene, they're with Picard and pals. How did they get there? So they just like, yeah, we got to get it from here to here, but we're not going to show the work of how that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And it sort of feels like that's how it is with, we're going to introduce Q, we're going to do a snap. Okay, so why is Q here? And they're like putting it all together, but it's a lot.
Like, I don't know why they didn't just use the transporters to beam all of them out. Like, Rios didn't use the transporters to beam them out. And then he has a problem trying to do the cloud transporter. So he can have the same amount of work. He can still catch a bullet, but they don't need to do that meet up at all. That's so contrived and strange. Other than we need to get them together again so we can split them up immediately. Man, this show loves to do that. There was a positive. There was a really, really nice touch. So the green lights that come out, that was an absolute nod to the Borg usually have a red laser point exactly for the eye. And there's an awesome scene in First Contact, and it's in a lot of episodes where it's all misty and all you see is like one laser beam come out, and then two, and then three, and then 50 just appear, and you're screwed. So that was a really nice, like, there are some awesome little touches like that in the show that show so much care and attention. It just kind of feels like this is a story that somebody has been writing for 20 years. Some fan fiction that has been in their head for 20 years that they can't get out of their brain. And it has been their headcanon for all of this time. And now they've got a chance to put it on screen. And it's a bit fan fiction-y.
You know how I have my little examples. It feels like somebody was raised by a really incredible family that knew how to cook a lot of different kinds of recipes. And so they're like, you know what I'm going to do? Someday I'm going to make every single recipe from every single aunt, uncle, grandmother, grandfather, mom, dad, all these people that I love, and I'm going to do one big meal. And so they're preparing it and they're getting it all out, and it's just, we're sitting down at this table, and where usually you want to have one thing to really, really enjoy and then the other things sort of support it. It's like 50 meals. It's like 50 plates,
so
50
much.
Different recipes, and they're not all bad, but when you have to eat them all at the same time, it gets really, I don't know, muddied as time goes on in a way. And also, if you had just focused on one or two things, you could have really done well. And so it's like, it's kind of like that's a green bean casserole. Like, okay, it wasn't anything super special. It was just what it is.
Doesn't need the blancmange on the side of it.
So that's what it feels like at this point is there's so many different characters, so many different storylines. Elnor is back. Like, there's just so much that's happening. Elnor, I guess, is the green bean casserole. I don't know.
I mean, let's talk about Elnor. So just as Queenie is about to vaporize everybody or take the ship, Agnes asserts some more dominance and reveals that she has created a security code lockout thing. But the only way to make sure that she could get control of the ship back eventually without it being in her brain was to lock the code inside of a hologram that she fucked upedly put into the body of Elnor. Like, it didn't...
But it's not the body of Elnor.
Sorry.
Right? It's
a
the
hologram that's been given the image of Elnor. Which is pretty fucked up. Yeah,
because
I guess they use a personality template.
The same final breath with?
Yeah, so this has been used before where they use the template of a real human as all of the biographic information, all of that to create a personality so that the hologram knows what a door is and knows what right and wrong is. So they've done that before. That's how the Saki doctor from Voyager. He's based on an actual doctor, and we love him. Mm-hmm. So I get that logic. It's just really fucked up that it's a dead guy.
Well, and the questions are vast for me.
Oh, I may be able to answer some, so go.
So, like, before you are sent on a mission, do you have, like, a body scan, memory scan, something scan? So whatever... So he says, I share his thoughts at last breath.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean, like, the computer is scanning him in that last moment, and that is the information that becomes the hologram?
He was on the bio bed.
So that's probably what
possibly.
it is?
I mean, the bio bed was powered down during his dying breaths, so I don't know that. That's
just kind of curious how that
It must have been his last conscious breaths because the computer was scanning him.
I don't know. Confused about how that works.
A little bit confusing, yeah.
So, but if I remember correctly, you can turn on a hologram and make them into something solid, which means that they can be killed. I think you said
have
before.
An arm lopped off or something, but it could just grow back. That's not the big deal.
But it takes a lot of energy, which the ship has been having trouble with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the ship flies later. So I don't know. I'm just confused about how any of this works.
There is a huge thing that and usually they're great at nodding and mentioning this, but did you see the little badge that was on his arm?
It was the medical, it was like the ship.
The what?
It's like, didn't that denote like that he was part of the ship?
You would think so, but no. That is a mobile emitter. So this is something that the Doctor in Voyager eventually gets after traveling to the future. And no, I'm not doing Trek or Triction. It is basically they were fed up of the Doctor being stuck on the ship, so the writers gave him a gadget that would let him visit planets.
Right.
So
and then he became a god.
Essentially, he may as well. Oh, I mean, yes, that did happen.
Yeah.
So what it allows, it's a mobile holodeck. So it allows his program to be separate from the ship, so he can beam off and go do other things. So a holographic Elnor has one of those, so that he's independent from the ship's systems. And that gives him the physicality, the ability to do all of the things he does as well.
I think what you're saying is that the program running Elnor is not siphoning power from the vehicle itself.
Yeah, it's siphoning from the holographic emitter. Now, the problem is that they could have made anything, put the mobile emitter on it, and used it. All of this time, because apparently they come standard with fucking freighters. And
also, Elnor is still on that ship? That emitter is still on that ship?
Yes. Okay. But in theory, it could have been independent of the ship.
Hold on a second. When was the last time we saw Elnor? What happened to him?
He died, didn't he? He died in like episode 2.
No. I'm sorry. Elnor. Hologram.
Elnor, yeah.
Elnor.
We haven't. This is the first time.
No, I'm saying in this episode, what was our final scene with him?
Oh, he was, when Seven was getting ready to beam the Borg up, he was getting ready to fight. And then that's the last we saw of him.
Well, no, I mean, he fought the Borg Queen.
Yeah, no, that's the last we saw of him.
Did she incapacitate him?
Oh, sorry, she sent a spike through him that destabilized his program.
Okay, thank you.
So she hit the mobile emitter. Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's
whatever.
He's out. He's
out,
done.
apparently.
He's dead again.
He's dead again.
Okay.
Great. We've killed Elnor again. Fucking hell. I mean,
I find it funny that we joked about Elnor still being dead, and then he came back, and we actually had a conversation about transporters and transporter problems before the show started, which you'll hear in outtakes. And then there was a transporter problem in this episode.
It was perfect.
I mean, a lot of that stuff is really like, oh, that's super convenient. Like, you have just, beamed these Borg people into the walls directly in front of Picard, who can now see them.
Well, I had a thought about that.
Oh, interesting that Rios beamed directly to Picard.
I have a thought about that.
There's so many things, and I don't think that they have transporters or stuff. Like, they can't be tracked. So how does that...
So
I don't know.
There were so many Borg that she was beaming them everywhere.
Yeah.
And it just so happened just so happened.
On camera.
Mm-hmm. The one with Rios finding Picard, he can just scan for their location and beam to where they are. So he has to pick a location to beam to. So it would be, let's beam to where Picard is. Because he's surrounded by bad guys.
But how does he know that it's Picard?
Well, he knows that it's two people surrounded by bad guys.
So it's Picard or someone?
Yeah.
Because he can tell...
the cloud thing is locked onto not Laris.
That makes more sense.
But it doesn't make sense why it wouldn't beam him behind her instead of in a defensive position in front of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
But this is what I'm saying, is it's a lot of it's like, you really shouldn't stop and investigate the meal that has been prepared. It's just like, you're just having the soup and you're just having the salad at this point. You're like,
this meal will get you full. Don't worry about how it gets you full. Yeah,
don't think about the ingredients too much. Mm-hmm. Because, this is very meal-centric. It is like one of those meals you just want to be over because you're so full.
Yeah.
And technically there was some good stuff, but there's enough that you just want it to end. And you're hoping that, like, okay, so dessert's coming. This person probably made way too many desserts. But it's the company that makes it fun. Like, talking to you about it has made this fun for me. But
exactly.
I'm not sure what I'm... You're welcome. I'm not sure what I'm watching that I'm like, yeah, this is really interesting. I guess Seven's arc is a little bit interesting to me.
Kinda. Not now, it isn't. It's kind of lost interest for me now because she's back to square one. Rios is back to square one. None of the interesting things I thought were going to happen with them are actually going to happen. They're all just going to be back to, fine. But the meal thing makes sense. But it's like, that it was very expensive to make this meal, and the people that made it really care and have some skill. But we're sat here just like, I'm so sorry you wasted all of this effort.
Yeah. And then the awkward moment when they serve you a hanging and you're like, okay, and that happened.
We will definitely hit that. I kind of want to hit that last. Last plus something else,
I don't know
perhaps.
that we should. We should bury it in the middle so that we have like let's not leave it at the...
Okay, maybe not at the very end, but...
BT dubs.
So, yes, Flashbang creates a flashback for Picard. So they're all together, they're under attack, and so begins Picard's drift into memories. Again.
Continue.
They split up, and Raffi and Seven take the long way round. Laris and Picard go through the chateau. Now, wouldn't this, Ambassador, have been much, much more interesting a time to do the whole father story flashbacks? I mean, take out the therapy session in space completely, because it's so... I like it that it's in space, but that's all I like about it. And just have this, as he's going through the house, this is when the flashbacks happen. This is when he unlocks the memories, because it's the first time that he's revisited it in this similar session. So the fact that Sung is chasing him reminds him of his father chasing him. So those parallels and all of that is re-bringing up the trauma. Do it in this episode, because there was no weight to this other than the, oh my God, why are you showing me this weight of the actual suicide?
Yeah. No, I had that thought when I was watching. This show continues to really hit on dark themes.
Mm-hmm.
I really do hope that they give people some trigger warnings before this stuff. Like, I just feel like there's been several times watching Picard that I think, my God.
No warning. No trigger warning at all.
Yeah. I mean, you maybe have an inclination that something is going to happen. Like, there's a little bit of quiet at the door. And so there's two doors he walks through. There's the door to go in and rest with her at night and then let her out. And then there's the door he walks through to find her. And those happen at different times. And so this is like kind of going into the trauma of what a child would to hide those memories.
Yeah.
And I think the coma episode maybe revealed that he hid the memories inside of fantasy because, like, it was just this kind of crazy going down to, like, battle things in the basement, So, but my first thought was this seems like such a better place for part of the unlocking of his trauma. And it was, he's standing in the same space that he finds her in the future. So it's still, like...
Yeah.
It hasn't even happened yet.
We've lost so much weight because this happened 2 episodes ago. We've seen all of this other than the ending, which we guessed.
It's kind of stretched out quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I completely agree with you that it was an interesting sequence to show it and then to reverse it so that you end on her being alive and watching the trauma and kind of watching that story. I much prefer what I saw in this episode to the confusion of the coma episode, because the coma episode to me just felt like a whole episode about nothing. I can't even remember what else was happening with that.
I don't remember the B plot of that one at all. It's crazy. No, I agree. I guess we'll talk about it now. You see her swinging, and this is it is for so long. It holds on that for such a long time. There doesn't seem to be any, and maybe it doesn't want to be subtle about suicide, but there are some ways you can do it without triggering a good chunk of your audience. I didn't like the way that it was handled all night. The reverse thing into her taking the rope off, going back into bed, and then him unlocking the door that was great. I really liked the way that was handled, but man, watching him walk in, then seeing her and the dangling, I don't even want to talk about it too much.
It's a lot. It truly
was so
is
much.
a lot. It's something truly and honestly that if you know somebody who is triggered, this is one of those episodes you tell people, don't watch this one. Yeah, and then there's like a double murder of a Borg, with like a slow knife moment, and there's a couple gunshots to heads with Elnor shooting people. So this it definitely goes more into that R-rated territory for some of the things, which it's not that it's gory, it's that it's realistic.
Yes,
and that's the thing
really
is this was realistic, and they really decided to just take all of the veil away from, she's in this angelic white dress, so she's
God.
just so like
she looks like a ghost.
It's oddly beautiful because she's sort of like in this greenhouse area.
And I think that was the intent, was to make it very picturesque and pure and angelic.
It really did. For what we saw, it was like the most beautiful version, I guess.
I was expecting her to
literally
literally float away out of the window as some ethereal being.
So you're watching it like forward, and then something weird begins to happen, and that's when they start to go into the reverse, which is showing us, like you said, that kind of like, this is what Picard has been doing all these years, is reversing this memory out of his mind and then stopping at the door when he opened it, because if he doesn't ever open it, it doesn't ever go away. So, I think about things like, okay, so then he knew that his mom passed away his whole life. Did he never find out why? And there's like, I've got more questions about that, but I'm going to just leave that alone, because what they're doing is they're saying that, he felt a great, inability to love people because he was afraid, I guess, of hurting people. It's sort of what like they're playing at here is that his character can't love Laris because he wasn't able to unlock this part of his heart, but now he has.
Yeah, maybe.
That's what the setup is.
It feels like it, doesn't it? It's like, this is why he didn't want to have children, in case he fucked them up in the same way his mum fucked him up, something like that, which is a valid feeling, like completely valid.
Believe me, as having a 5-year-old, it is a very... So, like every time I interact with her or have to correct her or something, I'm just like, man, I really hope that I'm not planting some wacky seed. Or when she watches me get passionate and talk like really boldly, I hope I'm not exempling something to her that's just going to jack her up. It's a terrifying thing to raise somebody, because you're one of the influences. She's also influenced by TV and other people and other relationships she's going to have. And I understand that, but there's this like intrinsic fear of, someone is on this planet because of a choice, and so
you better not fuck it up.
I really don't want to fuck it up.
And that comes from, like, I'm sure you're the same, but I have memories from my childhood that I lock into that I'm like, I'm sure my parents don't want me to have that memory.
Yeah, and they're completely, you can't avoid them.
Like, no, you absolutely can't.
There's things I saw on TV I wish I would have never seen.
Yeah.
There's conversations I wish I would have never heard. And then you have to learn how to manage them. And in this case, it seems that Picard is saying that his mom was like mentally unwell, that there was something going on where she was happy and then she was sad. And so
still very vague about the specifics of it.
Very, very vague about the specifics of it. So now that we can kind of like put a little bow on that, now the veil has been lifted. They have very clearly told us what's happening there. And then they're leaving other areas very muddy for me, which is frustrating, because the character development, again, for Picard, I didn't need this part of Picard.
No.
But I would rather have some interesting bits of information about other characters that I hope to continue to see in Picard series or other Star Trek series.
And I know it's called Picard. I know it's about him, but it's not enough about him. Like, you've given us so much that we want to dig into, and his bit seems to be, even though it's a serious topic, the least needed. And I think the biggest, there are two big things just to wrap up the thoughts on the mother storyline. It's the episode that it's in, and it's the show that it's in. This isn't a show like Euphoria, which is dealing with, if you haven't watched it, drug abuse and what it's like to be a teenager, and it's such a dour show, but it's realistic, and it's telling a very, very clear story. this is an action sci-fi adventure that wants to slip in this very, very, very serious story about mental health and suicide. And that's not impossible. But this does not fit the tone of zapping Borg and the rest of the stuff that's going on in the show, and the sitcom-y almost type drama between Seven and Raffi. It doesn't mix with that. It feels so out of place.
No, you're right. It doesn't mix. I mean, they're making it mix, but there's something too that, like, there is this moment between Picard and his mother, when she essentially said she can feel maybe the sadness, the depression, something changing in her mind, and you can kind of see that the way that this scene is being acted, she had been having a good day and then just something kind of shifted.
Well, it seems like it's the dad that shifted it.
It seems that way. Like she's kind of triggered.
Even that I disagreed with. Like, that can be a trigger, but sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it doesn't need anything on the outside to push you over the edge.
I feel like when you're playing at, I don't know if the word's playing at, is when you're presenting this type of a story, all the clues that they're giving you as to why she's doing the things that she's doing, because we're reaching for that. We're like, okay, I want to understand what I'm being shown. And so when you have the dad figure running through and yelling and then she's looking concerned, of course you're going to think that means that they're related, but we don't know, and we're not really going to get that answer unless it's in some sort of like fan,
and it isn't. Yeah, of course, it couldn't be for this
somewhere. But anyway, there was this moment between the mother and Jean-Luc where she essentially says to him, "I hope that you remember the bright spots in my love for you instead of when the star burns out." She kind of is essentially saying that the stars are echoes and shadows of things that have like long burned out a long time ago, and that's how she feels, is like she's already burned out and she hopes that he remembers.
She's coming to the end.
And that was a really beautiful thing. Like, put that after, so he finds his mother. Picard in real time is standing in the place where someone's about to kill them, and he's just debilitated by this memory that's finally come to him after all this time. He's having this like breakthrough moment, and the words of his mother are like, "Remember me in this way." That gives him the strength that he needs. You know, Laris
that's
is
the final
essentially
memory.
There. That's the final memory for him to pull him up out of that sadness. Rios comes back, shoots some shit up, and Picard doesn't have to be the savior, but it can be that part of healing. Instead, it just kind of felt like a retelling of an old story. It felt like Picard had already thought of this so many times, and he's just bringing Laris up to speed.
And that links into my final point that I don't like, is the resolution of it leans on Laris. So then Laris comes in to make him feel better.
Laris, I guess.
Sorry, not Laris comes in to make him feel better, be the shoulder and say, it's okay, your emotions are valid. And it's just like, it's so disjointed from the fucking ship is being taken over. You don't have time for this flashback.
You
unless need to get your ass onto the ship.
Him, but instead it's like a story.
But it doesn't look like that at all. It looks like he's deliberately reminiscing and uncovering it. And it's so disjointed from reality.
It does. It misses the mark. And because it's folded into this other thing, like you said, like the both of them together, they're like oil and water. They're not mixing together. The tension isn't there anymore. They're trying to build this tension kind of at this, where you've got all these conflicts happening at the same time, and you've got like Picard, who should be debilitated. You've got Rios, who shouldn't have been debilitated.
Yes.
It's just a shot to the arm.
He should be there.
He's doing great.
That's some bullshit. Like he's just like, we're not going to let him come back. Use him in the fight. You need every resource you have.
I'm pretty sure that you've had worse injuries just on a drunken binge falling down a flight of stairs.
Yes.
Like, you're fine. Just go.
His last transporter accident was more debilitating than this.
Everyone. And then you've got like Seven and Raffi, who agree that they're about to die and then fight through a field of Borg, and they don't really show that.
We're not going to watch that. They're just going to be fine. They're going to make it.
And the thing that's the hardest, this is probably the last thing I have to say about it, about the mother stuff, is that it just feels like, we've already seen this before. There's really not much here that we haven't already seen winks and nods to. The bow at the end is so tragic that it's like, okay, I actually didn't need to see that at this point.
I guess that. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, we didn't need it. So there's one, we are going to move off of this, I promise, but I'll get streamed alive and destroyed by Twitter if I don't mention it. So there was a big uproar and furore about the age of Picard's mother. So there is an episode in the first season or second season called When No Man Has Gone For, something like that. And everybody on the ship is hallucinating, and Picard sees a vision of his mother. And she is sat in in a hallway on the Enterprise at a table, saying, would you like to come and sit down for a cup of tea and have a chat? But she's an old lady. So a lot of people were like, oh my goodness, she didn't commit suicide at that age because we have a vision of her as an older woman. But he actually says the words, oh, I used to always think about her as an older lady and she would ask me for a cup of tea, specifically to explain that one appearance in the episode.
Interesting.
Because it sounded like a strange sentence, didn't it?
Not to me.
No?
No. Because I don't have any point of
then.
reference.
Okay,
because I thought that was
good.
kind of a sweet thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think when you lose someone that you really want to spend time with, you would fantasize about what would they look like when they get older.
Mm.
And I think that you would try to cherish what you had, but also, kind of create moments that you never would have had. So I thought that was really neat.
I'm really glad that's how that came across. For me, and I shouldn't judge it, but for me, it was so much, I'm glad you did your homework, but also that felt really tacked on. But I'm glad that to everyone else, it to people that maybe don't know that, it didn't. So I'm sorry if I shattered anybody's visions of that. But what was interesting is that TrekCore is one of the Trek news outlets that is pretty big. They're very big. And somebody said that in the first Star Trek TNG movie, Generations, Picard has a family photo album, and there is a picture of his mother in there as an old woman. And they were just
they
like,
have Photoshop in the future.
how did that happen? And one of the replies was, when he hallucinated the picture of his mother, that was the first time this image had come to life. So he immediately went to the holodeck, described her, recreated it, took a picture and put it in the photo album. I love that so much as an explanation. Of course, that's what you would do. Why not?
That plays into a level of like denial that I would have been really interesting to play into as far as a
use that
character
photo album.
That is more of a character flaw than guarding your heart against love to me. Like,
You're
that
so
would be
deluded.
interesting to get into, where he actually thought his mom lived.
It would be because,
there's a show that we're watching right now that kind of has like a little wink and nod to almost like a similar psychosis of, is a person talking to the person you think that they're talking to?
Mm-hmm.
And they're so clever with it. And like, I was thinking about that as you were talking, because how cool would it have been if the reveal of what his mental breakdown is that he created this mother character?
Yeah.
Like, that would be really interesting to watch.
So interesting.
But at the same time, we really would like to see some action, some adventure. We have a lot of characters, so we can't just completely dig into Picard, because it is a handoff show. Like, we are building something else for the next. Don't crush my dreams. God damn it.
And the show that we're talking about does it extremely well, deals with similar trauma, does it probably, similar trauma, I'm going to say, and it does it so well. It doesn't feel jarring. It is uncomfortable to watch, but it fits with the theme of the show anyway.
Well, the show we're referencing also is one that's in production right now. They're building up the understanding of the character right now. And Picard is building on how many years of information.
Of course.
I don't know. I think it's well done that they would have gone back and said, we've seen the mother character. She was old. We need to address that somehow. That, to me, like you said, is that someone's paying attention, and that's appreciated. Yeah,
I know. That's fair.
But I would love it if there was like a little logbook where it's
goodness.
like, we saw Picard go in and take a picture of a hologram.
Yeah,
that's just so funny.
And then he put it into his book. But what was, to get back to TrekCore, so they mentioned that, and they also mentioned that also that picture was... The reason we know that picture is in the book is because of behind the scenes information. It never appeared on screen. So technically it isn't canon. So I was like, man, they are good at picking out that stuff. What's canon and what isn't.
That's so cool.
It exists, but because we didn't see it on screen, it's not provable.
Oh man.
Nerds,
let's flip over. I know we're gonna spend a lot of time because we're here at the end. But this is literally telling us the information that we need to wrap up these different character stories for this season. And we've got a couple of other wrap ups. So do you think Elnor is just going to forever be a hologram now?
No, because the timeline's going to reset. So we're going to...
You think the timeline's going to reset?
Of course it is. And man, I don't even know whether to do this in ReSInstance now or in predictions.
Let's just do it now.
So there is going to be... Man, it's so fucked up.
Because there's an allusion to 2 Renees. So...
Yeah, I don't even want to think about what that means. I have no idea. The timeline they get sucked out of is the third timeline.
Okay, hold on.
It's a new timeline
everyone,
already.
Please, just whether you're driving or like, You're on like a treadmill of some kind. Perhaps you're in the bath listening to their show right now. I just like for everyone to have a couple of moments.
Yes.
This is when you pause the show to get
your
notebook
notepad.
paper.
Yeah.
And the little red pins.
With all of the string.
A cork board.
Yes,
some
yes.
string.
So
all right, Captain. Carry on.
Here's where we're at. So we've got the original timeline where the Borg are horrible.
That's the one that we're in now.
Yep.
In the show.
Yep.
Okay.
TNG, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, everything. Borg are terrible people. They're horrible. Alternate timeline. Humans are horrible. Borg get destroyed. This timeline, I mean, the one that we go back to where we have the Borg Queen on the Stargazer, which only has a helmet so that we don't know it's Agnes. That Borg Queen is breaking through from a different timeline. So there is no way that can be the Borg of the timeline that we know, because there is now a new future where the Borg go off into the Borg Queen goes into the Delta Quadrant 400 years ago, creates a nice fluffy Borg, and that is in a completely different timeline to the one that we know from TNG.
Or it's existed without ever being known this whole time.
Not possible. The timeline can, but the Borg being nice can't. Because if she changes the course of the Borg, by definition, that's a new timeline, because Picard doesn't get assimilated, Seven doesn't get assimilated.
But he could get assimilated by the other Borg, because there could be two Borgs.
No, but it's a different timeline. It has to be a different timeline. There's no way you've got two Borgs doing two distinct things in one timeline.
If you take this little bit of string and you wrap it around this red thumbtack, I think it could work. We just have to move this little piece of paper over here.
Time and space, different corkboard.
Just hand the Sharpie to me. We're going to just X this part out.
You have 3 corkborgs. So,
what did you say? Corkborgs?
Corkborgs? No, it's not what I said. Not what I said, but I'm glad. So let's just get straight to this prediction. The reason that the Stargazer and everything gets blown up is because Agnes is completing the loop. So Agnes has to break in from her new timeline where the Borg is nice to set this Stargazer stuff in motion. So our timeline as we know it is going to reset. The Borg are still... they've had a history of being terrible, but they're still the Borg that Janeway has destroyed, and there's only a few little bits of them. And then there's this new timeline where the Borg are nice and Agnes is prosperous and all of that happens.
You lost me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
I really think that we need to go to the store and get some
and
office supplies.
get this taped out.
You said our timeline, and I was like, which one are we talking about?
When I say our, I have to mean the TNG one, the one that is normal. Yeah, where the Borg are evil and they always have been. But the nice Borg, the nice Agnes, breaks into this space-time continuum to set things into motion to create the nice Borg. So either way, we have a universe where the Borg are nice and a universe where the Borg have been destroyed by Janeway.
And they're meeting together. And which one's taking her?
Neither. They both run parallel, side by side.
But we're still seeing them.
The only thing that doesn't happen is the nasty timeline with evil Picard.
Which is how it should be, because that's the least amount of time that they've spent on the show so far. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
But she's crossing over. So Agnes Borg is crossing over into our timeline for just a brief moment, and then is going to wipe everyone's memory and go back.
Nope. No, it's to create this timeline.
But
the new one.
And so she's going to kill our people to do it.
No, because she's there to help.
Okay, so they're going to remember that there's two timelines.
Yes.
Okay. And that's cool in Star Trek universe.
The crew of the Stargazer will know.
And in Star Trek universe, but all of the Starfleet's watching, all the admirals, they sent everybody. They're like, Picard, you're being called out.
I really don't know, because you can't have a new timeline where the Borg are nice, because it changes everything. It changes everything.
And that's upsetting you.
Well, it's not upsetting. It just seems dumb. It's just, you've then undone all of TNG. So I just don't think that's what they're going to do. It doesn't make sense.
Trek therapy.
Man, I'm so broke. I'm probably misinterpreting all of this. But anyway.
No, I'm with you. It's crazy. It's crazy. This is the theories of like, why is Q doing what he's doing? Why is Dr. Sung doing what he's doing? Why is the Borg Queen doing what she's doing? Because Borg Queen seems to be trying to figure everything out on her own, because she's very confident, like, now you can do this. Like, so before it was like, you've got to get to this.
Because she's time sensitive, she can sense things, whatever.
You've got to get to this place at this time to meet the person to do the whatchamacallit. And then she starts taking over and realizes that she could have this thing. And then Agnes is all like, but feelings. And then she's like, okay. And then they just scoot out. And that's now them. So Agnes is gone. She's now like Borg Queen Agnes gone on a starship.
Agnes saw somebody on Twitter, Agnes Borgatti.
That's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agnes Borgatti.
So that's the end of that. But back to my question. So Elnor.
Oh, Elnor. Shit. Sorry.
That's okay.
So yeah, Elnor's still going to be alive.
We have this little piece of paper that says Elnor. on this cork Borg.
Yeah.
I don't know where to put him.
Borg.
Alive, dead, question mark?
So the timeline gets the... how's it going to work?
Because, so like the... Oh, God. Oh,
They would have to have no memories of anything happening in order for him to come back.
How is he going to come back?
He might not.
I think...
Maybe all of this happened and they all come back on the Stargazer.
I think what they're proposing is that all of this is part of history. And it's part of
It always happened.
It's part of TNG history.
So what happens to Borg and Agnes then?
They scooch out until later.
But
they
this isn't what they've been
do.
But it's not what they've been doing for 400 years. If that's the case, it means that their plan failed because the Borg aren't nice in this timeline.
Well, but they're different. They're like a different sect of Borg.
That we've never seen until this right now.
That's right. Because they hung out waiting for this moment to,
so they
become...
were waiting for the nasty Borg to get wiped out by Janeway so that they could then assert their dominance and be the nice Borg.
And be
That's
taken
fucking
seriously.
Dumb.
Yeah, wait until Seven stands up in front of Starfleet to justify their behavior and qualify them as their own species. It's going to happen, right?
That's going to be very strange.
Prepare yourself, sir.
Because it means that their plan is... Because the plan is to prevent the Borg from being what they are, which means Agnes completely fails. But the completely fails.
But the plan is for her to survive as a new species. I don't know if it's to...
No, it was to replace the Borg. Stop the Borg doing what they're doing and replace it with this cuddly Borg that asked for consent first.
Which they didn't actually do before they assimilated Seven. It's really interesting.
Correct. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
It's the most frustrating parts of the whole episode.
Like, Seven has a DNR on her. She does not want Borg stuff in her. No.
You didn't ask.
I'm sure she'd rather die than be Borg again.
Oh my God. So I think like however we get back to this little reality, it's either our crew blowing up on a ship.
No.
Or it's our crew. I guess now they don't even have a ship, so they're going to be snapped back by Q.
Yeah, but that La Sirena is the wrong La Sirena, isn't it? It's the one from the alternate timeline.
The one that Borg Queen has is the wrong one.
Yeah, so Q has got to snap them back to the future, which won't be a problem. That's easy.
If he gets his powers back.
He will.
Which they still haven't addressed how
or it'll
that
be his
works.
dying wish.
His dying wish.
I'm going to funnel all of
my
the remainder of my Q energy into getting you back home, and then I die.
And reviving Elnor too?
Yeah, why not?
Elnor's body is on the fucking ship.
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
So Elnor's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's omniscient. He can do whatever.
Yes.
He can summon back. Okay.
He's all powerful. He can do whatever he wants.
So he could kill all the Borg.
He could, yes.
Okay.
But it's not a good use of his time.
No.
It's also
not
interfering.
Right.
I mean, he likes to interfere, but not interfere that much.
Right.
Like, he could have snapped Janeway back home, but didn't. So, I mean, it definitely cleared up what the Borg Queen's plan was. It was, now that she knows that this future is a bit shit for the Borg because the Borg Slayer, Picard, kills them, she wants to fix that in the past. So it doesn't matter that she's helping Adam Sung because the Borg will have a 400-year head start and some more tactics.
But I think the idea is that Agnes broke through to the part of her that, not necessarily the human part of her, but the part of her that's like
the logical part.
Everything that you're doing is still resulting in the same thing, so let's do something different.
Just like in every single universe, Agnes is alone. In every single universe, the Borg fail, which isn't how multiple universes fucking work, by the way, but never mind. The idea is that every single thing that could happen will happen. So it's impossible, if multi-universes happen, that the Borg don't succeed in at least some of them. Right. But never mind.
In some universe, the Borg are little happy, fluffy puffballs.
Exactly, yeah. In some universes, the Borg are the Tribble, and the Tribbles just multiply and
and the way that you're
get
assimilated
suckers and whatnot.
It's like when you walk into like a department store and they spray you with perfume.
Yeah, that's assimilated.
That's right. You've been assimilated. That's just that fast.
There we go.
And that happened somewhere because I just thought of it. Okay. That's how sci-fi works.
100%. That's exactly how sci-fi works.
But this is where I'm saying like the ability for sci-fi to bend back in on itself and suck its own dick.
That's awesome. It's great. Yeah, I love it.
Is what we're looking at. And I feel like they're saying that there is this Borg sect, kind of like the Amish broke off and have different Amish
that's
Amish
not the
sects.
goal, though. Like maybe
it wasn't the goal of the original Amish for them to have like some iPods and shit, but there are some Amish that like have tractors and iPods, and that's just the way that it is.
Live your life. Yeah, I mean, fine.
It's okay.
If it's a Borg sect, then that makes sense because then this timeline can still be unaltered.
Yes.
but Agnes's plan completely failed, is what we're saying.
Agnes's plan was to survive and have happy Borgs, and her plan is still activated.
But
they're
it's
just going to
failed.
go off and do it elsewhere. They're going to go fuck off for 400 years.
No, but the plan is to replace the bad Borg. It has to be. Or else they're still out there doing the bad stuff. It
But
doesn't
if
matter
they-
if you're doing a ton of good stuff.
But if they do that, then they prevent them from ever having the time. Like, unless they get to the point where Q does the snap, none
Yeah.
of that even matters.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So she's going to like,
So they're making this unilateral decision that this universe will be better because the Borg are nice in it. But it will be a different
but
future.
in 400 years after all of the bad
Nothing's
Borgs do
changed.
bad things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to do it after that point. So maybe that's
She
fucking
may
dumb.
need 400 years
Well, it
to
took
go.
me 400 years to get back to the Delta Quadrant.
Could
That's
be,
exactly
could
what it
be.
is
Yep, that's what it is.
in La Sirena.
You just, and that is how sci-fi works. You just think it, and it becomes
Oh, it's
reality.
fucking dumb. I am. It could. The problem is, it could be any of these things or none, because they don't have to make the time travel make sense, because time travel doesn't make sense. So whatever they say is what happens, and it doesn't matter because time travel.
But we now have a beautiful board of like strings
I
and
don't wanna look at
thumbtacks. At
My
least,
blood is on that board.
we- well, I wasn't going to talk about the blood. That was an odd choice to draw the lines. But like, I get
Yes.
it. You're really
I
passionate.
ran out of red string very quickly. I had to start drawing blood.
So Elnor's dead.
To summarize,
We don't
I
know.
think Elnor,
Is dead.
it's Schrodinger's Elnor. Either could happen.
Oh man.
But they seem determined to bring him back and kill him again, so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back, falls down and dies.
Exactly. Yep.
The only one that didn't make it.
That's what's gonna happen.
Um,
There's really not much
brilliant.
more for me to talk about
No,
in this
that's
episode,
it.
honestly, because
I mean, Rios has dug his heels in and said, I'm going back to the future. That's the end of that.
that was a surprise for you.
It was a surprise and it was disappointing because it was just switch, click a button, and it was like, I'm out of here. It's like, it's the right choice, but all of the indicators up until now haven't said that.
And also, you have left a woman and child in a super
Fucked up.
high-tech watcher
All of the yes,
apartment that's filled with futuristic gadgets, and you haven't memory wiped them?
Not Laris will wipe her memory.
Not Laris will have to wipe her memory 100%.
Without a doubt. And then we'll have some little thing where the kid draws a doodle of La Sirena because it didn't quite work. And then he grows up
And
to be
becomes-
an FBI agent
That's
that
right.
hunts down aliens and whatever the fuck. He ends up being
And it's all part
Rios'
of the
great
plan.
great great grandfather.
It's all part of the plan.
Yes, it's all part of the plan. It always happened. When she said, hey, what if you're meant to be here? What if that is the future all along? And I was like, you're stealing my line, lady.
You literally gagged.
I was just like, you motherfucker, that's exactly what I said.
I wrote that down in my notes episodes ago.
Oh my gosh, idiot.
Stop doing what I think you're going to do.
Get off my tater tarts. Right.
Oh my God.
No further information on Q. Moving on.
Not Soul, just Soji is still MIA.
Oh, yep, still out of action. Data is in the wind.
Not Dater.
Not Data is not in the wind. Is in the wind. Whatever.
I like calling him Dater.
Data. It's better than Data. Yeah. I mean that's it. Like Agnes uses the chemicals, the sad chemicals, to assert her dominance, and
Just
that's
like in
what
the
happens.
movie Inside Out. Honestly.
Just like in the movie Inside Out. Yes.
You're going to harness the power of sadness to be a whole person.
Sideways prequel to Star Trek that we didn't know existed. I think that's the entire episode. That's the massive things we've hit off. My goodness.
What great conversations.
And genuinely, yeah, it really is.
If nothing else, as infuriating as it may be, it does give us something to talk about every week.
It really does.
Trying to figure out what they're doing. I feel like predictions will be interesting for next episode.
I love the fan theory-ness of it, and it is inspiring a great conversation. It's just kind of like how not to do this kind of stuff. And who knows, maybe episode 10 will redeem it and say all of this makes sense.
We don't know.
We don't know. You don't know.
It's not. I don't think it's fair to say how not to do it. I think it's fair to say here's how to do a lot, and maybe not
Perhaps
do
not
a
in the
lot.
most entertaining way.
Yeah, like again, we're at a table that seats 20 people, and there's enough food here for 200, and it's a lot.
It's a lot to take in. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. You're
just frustrated.
I'm
It's
just
okay.
frustrated. I'm not
Just
enjoying it.
don't
Blah,
look
blah,
at the
blah,
board
blah.
anymore. Don't look at our like little.
Oh, the blood is starting to congeal. Okay, with that, it's time to head to engineering for ReSINstance is futile. Battle stations, everyone.
Warning. Warp core collapse in 10 seconds.
This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains, remind ourselves that no TV show is without sin, even our beloved Star Trek. Go for it, Ambassador, because I'm going to get juicy.
Oh, let's start us off then. I mean, like, you're like chomping at the bit. Go for it.
Okay, fuck you rejecting 7 of 9 from Starfleet. Like bollocks did that happen. So the idea is that to explain why 7 joined the Fenris Rangers is because when they got back from the Delta Quadrant, she petitioned to join Starfleet, and Starfleet said, no, fuck you, you're not coming in because you're a Borg. Apparently Janeway threatened to quit, but it didn't stick, and 7 goes off to join the Rangers. That is such utter bullshit. It is just flying in the face of Voyager. So there is like a whole arc in the last season of Voyager. There's like a few episodes where they know they're going to get home. They're very, very close. And Janeway is like, what are you going to do? And she's like, I'm not really looking forward to this. This is going to suck. And Janeway's just like, you're going to be accepted. And yeah, it is going to be tough. And you're going to be the symbol of hatred. But with me at your side, blah, 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 you're going to be productive. The entire fucking crew of Voyager would have thrown their badges in. Voyager's been gone for 7 years. It comes home to this huge success, this huge welcome, so many missions to report, so much science to share, and you're going to dig your heels in and reject 7 in like some kind of role. I do not believe for a second that Janeway, Chakotay, Tuvok, Paris, Kim,
excuse
anybody.
me, spoilers for who survived.
Oh,
okay.
Whoops. I mean, it's Star Trek. They all survive. Unless your name's Tasha.
Elnor.
Except Elnor. Shit. It is baffling to me that it got to the point of they were all just okay that 7 doesn't get allowed into Starfleet and isn't accepted. It is fine. Give me a season of a show that shows me how it happens, but don't throw it at me in a throwaway sentence. Like, I just don't buy it. I don't buy that Janeway would be okay with that.
Yeah, it's almost like you'd prefer the writing or the writers to kind of like present it like it's a long story.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that it was easy, but it didn't work out like I want to.
Or 7 makes that choice and says, I didn't want to join Starfleet.
At least it becomes something where it's not like Starfleet rejected me. But at the same time, we saw last season the kind of darker side of Star Trek or the Starfleet Academy where they, there's dark shit going on. So
I can see it happening. I can see Starfleet rejecting her just about. I don't see them also rejecting Janeway and the rest of the crew, who would have absolutely dug their heels in and said, no, it's all of us or none of us. Like, there is...
But at the same time, Picard showed that he went up for the, Mars and stuff. And he is like, I'm going to turn my badge in if you guys don't do it. And they're like, okay, do it.
But at this point, they want him to quit. Like, they're fed up of Picard. He's old blood. Like, I imagine him just being a nuisance. You have 150 people who are heroes for making it back from the Delta Quadrant, and you're going to poo-poo them as the first thing that you do when they get back? It would have been the worst PR move ever. Just from a PR standpoint, it would have been a bad move. None of it makes sense. Arrgh.
Okay, I'm gonna throw one thing back at you.
Okay, please do.
7 years, they come back from the Delta Quadrant, and it's like, we want to put a Borg in Starfleet.
Yeah.
Do you think that people would be like, wait, you're putting a Borg in Starfleet? Like, there's
going to be some pushback.
Maybe yeah. So it's just too much. It became too much. But what I'm saying is that is an interesting story.
Yes,
I do want to see that.
See it. Yes.
And the comment gave you an idea of what it was like, what you don't like. But the writers could have made it a little bit more like nebulous. To kind of go, okay, yeah, I can see that being the answer.
And what it comes down to is we need to explain how 7 got into the Fenris Rangers because people are asking about it.
Oh.
That's what it feels like, and that's why it's so condensed and shoehorned in. Whew, your turn. Please, and honestly, people, Twitter people, everyone, let me know if I'm wrong. Like, if you think I'm way out of line, let me know.
Okay, here's one for me. I don't know why this bothered me so much, but when Agnes, takes her nude self over to the cold stone to retrieve her clothing, I don't know why I found that so strange. Oh, I guess it's because she needed to have the mechanics that were in the body. Like, she needed to absorb them somehow. And she couldn't have done that with, any machine.
That has the tentacles and whatnot.
It had to be that particular.
There's some functionality to that outfit. Yeah, I think so.
And there's also a wink and a nod to the tentacles in the way that they used in this episode to what we saw when the ship was at the beginning. So
Exactly.
I feel like so maybe there's no sin there. They did finally show us that the Borg Queen was put on the slab, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's been bugging us for a few episodes for sure. My next one is, we'll just dig into the emitter a little bit. The holographic, the mobile emitter. My biggest problem is that it exists. So that came from the Delta Quadrant, and it looks identical, which means that in the alternate universe, Voyager still is on a mission of... It still gets chucked into the Delta Quadrant, still has the same future, gets chucked into the future and into the past mission, and still makes it home, and they replicate that technology. I'm like, that emitter is just one of those variables that shouldn't exist, I feel like.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
Hmm?
What emitter?
The hologram emitter, the thing that allows Elnor to walk around.
Yeah, that thing is just full of bullshit.
Yeah, that technology shouldn't be there.
I'm not really going to hone in on a specific moment, but the shootout scene was interesting to me when our guys are kind of behind barrels out in the courtyard and the Borg are sort of lasers, which looked really cool, like you said.
Oh, yeah.
I really didn't understand Laris's gun. It seemed like it went back and forth from being like super badass and like taking everybody out to just incredibly dumb and useless all at the same time.
Yeah, huh.
So usually when there's battle scenes in a show, we try to find something about them. There was that was kind of like pinging in the back of my head that there might be some sin there. And then all the times that the Borg were able to look through just holes in the wall
Yeah.
and windows and just sort of like be okay. Like, I don't see anybody, so I'm just going to keep on walking. And I just found all of that to be a really interesting thing to watch because it was kind of fun. And what a cool set that was.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really neat set, like an old mansion set.
Oh, it's a great set piece,
It was really fun to watch them walk around inside of and get use out of it. It was just, to me.
Feels like you're in a video game.
Yeah, it to me was really, really fun in that way. But it seemed incredibly sinful. Like they'd pass by and it'd be like this casual, like, okay, now we can go. Like they're fucking Borg.
Yeah.
There's no reason they're just
Sniff 'em
passing
out.
by a window, just looking. I don't know. It just
And
seemed.
yet, what you can do is burst into a door because you know they're on the other side of it.
Yeah, you can do
And my next sin was, man, luckily he was the only Borg that didn't have a fucking gun. Like, he bursts in and goes immediately hand-to-hand
Has, like, a
combat.
Bowie knife.
Where's your fucking gun? Like, what?
that. Yeah, there were several moments. Or like when Borg Queen comes in the corner at the end and she's got like a wrench to battle the katana.
Yes.
So it's like it's a katana versus monkey wrench at the end instead of her tentacles, for example.
Yes.
It's just the choices, the various choices of which weapons to use and when. It was all based on convenience. Card picking up another gun that should definitely not work. That's just been sitting around for forever.
Yeah.
And shoots off a few rounds in the distance. Like those kinds of things were
frustrating.
They were eye rolling, but at the same time, you're like, okay, at least we got some action. So, which is never how you want to. You never want it to be like well, at least something happened this episode.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, well, at least I got to see some pew-pews. It was a bit jarring to hear Seven say, they're not people, they're Borg.
Yeah.
I was like, no, they're people because you can turn Borg back into people. It's just very convenient for this episode so that we don't care that they all get murdered. I was like, no, they're still people.
She has an interesting back and forth. They all do, essentially, with like, do we kill, do we not? Like, they should be taking out the Borg Queen, whether Agnes is in there or not. Like
they kind of should have just shot her.
They really, really just, it's like, and even the Borg Queen herself, she's like, I'm going to take out Seven, but I'm not going to take out Rafi. Yeah. I'm going to take out Elnor, but I'm not going to take out the people that are going to be around for season 3.
Yeah, this will be fine.
It's just this strangeness. But yeah, when it comes to Borg and how they're talked about between characters, it really does sway depending on what's on screen.
It really does. Rios at the very beginning saying to the nurse and the kid, I'm really sorry for bringing you into this. No, you're fucking not. You had a choice. You did not need to bring them into this at all. You knew this shit was going to happen. Why?
Another thing that I would sin is Elnor, or Hella Elnor. Helnor?
Yeah.
When Borg Queen's like, you can't hide from us, Elnor, and like it's like going around with the Borg inside the ship. It's like, yeah, and we're not gonna check the room that's filled with weapons.
The weapons. Also, Elnor, you want to slam those doors any louder?
Like, so loud.
Chung.
Like that entire ship is just an echo chamber and a ricochet chamber. Let's also send the fact that it's just like 6 Borg just unloading machine guns around. Like that's so stupid. You're shooting a fucking ship.
Oh man, this is just one of those tropes I really dislike. That they ask the question but don't answer it. Sung stops everything to talk to Picard, and then Picard is just like, if this is your plan, why have you stopped to talk to me? And he just says,
because I want a monologue.
Because I want to talk, because I want a monologue, and I need to be in this episode. Yeah. And it's just, there was no reason to stop. You're going to kill them. There's no benefit to not killing them. Them giving up doesn't really make a difference. It's just because you somehow know that the story is going to let them win.
Well, and Ella, not Elnor and not Riaz, I'm sorry, blah, blah, Agnes, she does the same thing inside of Borg Queen brain. She reveals her plan instantly.
Yeah.
Whenever she locks the Borg Queen out, she appears in her mind as like, yeah, I did that, and here's exactly how to fix it.
Yeah,
I
right?
mean, instantly.
Just don't make the hologram appear.
Both, yeah. You know how
Keep
much
Elnor buried.
you want to talk about stalling?
Yeah.
Don't tell the Borg Queen and let her figure it out, because that would stall even longer. But instead, you're like, it's like my daughter when she plays hide and seek.
Mm-hmm.
She says, Mom, let's play hide and seek. Okay. And she goes and she hides somewhere. Sometimes I actually cannot see her body. Most time I can.
That's scary.
But when I can't find her body, she giggles and she whistles and she lets me know where she is, because
she wants to be found.
She wants to be found and she thinks it's fun or whatever. It's kind of like that. It's like, you know, hey, my plan's over here. My plan is over here.
Yeah,
hey, I just want to make sure
exactly.
you found my plan. Hey, I did something really cool and I want you to see it. Look over here. It's like, you know what? That is not
Just
what would
stop.
actually.
Yeah.
You want to save your friends? Don't tell the Borg Queen your fucking plan.
No need. If this has been Q's mission, is to give Picard some catharsis and to excise his demons and to confront his past, how did Q know that these memories were going to be unlocked?
I mean,
How?
I guess
He's had nothing to do with this, unless he just knows that this is how everything was going to play out.
maybe this is, like I said, maybe this is part of the past that he never saw. Like that this is part of what had to happen for any of the future to happen that we know in our preferred timeline is it. It's really hard to know. There was a moment in the downstairs of the house when Picard and not Laris are running around, and he's like, this, if we go left, it goes this way, and if we go right, it goes out to and then they eventually are able to go that direction to the right to go out to the fields. I think, and I might be confused about this. So this
we see them in the greenhouse. We don't see them where they go after that.
Exactly. But when they come back up, it's like, but instead of going to the fields, we're now in the greenhouse.
We're now in the greenhouse. Great.
So,
but I think it's because there were people coming and they had to take a different direction.
Okay.
They got blocked off at the corridor, I think.
But I thought that they were able to do, I don't know, maybe, yeah.
It's fucking dumb. And then they just suddenly appear next to everybody just as Seven is explaining what happened on the ship. I had a bit of an issue with the Borg Queen killing Seven so easily, because there has always been this, I will assimilate Seven, I will get her back. And I know we're dealing with a queen from a different timeline that may not have interacted with Seven. Actually, definitely hasn't interacted with Seven.
She did interact with Seven when she was pretend president.
Yes, but that's it. But she doesn't know, other than being time sensitive.
But she called her by her, like she acted
so
like they
I
knew each
guess so.
other.
Then it really doesn't make sense. Like, she shouldn't be so happy to kill Seven of Nine. There's always been this really loving daughter-like relationship between them.
It's so confusing to me because she doesn't want to assimilate people, and she should want to assimilate people. Like, it's just a very confusing thing. Everyone who dies around her, she should be like,
assimilated.
No, I need those voices in my mind.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I need the bodies. Exactly.
Unless she can't do that yet, like unless she's still somehow
she's assimilated all of the
power.
army, though. She's got a massive fucking army.
Are they part of her collective now? Is that just like, because remember how they're like nano whatevers, so maybe they're not like as powerful or something? I don't know. It's very confusing.
Knows.
I do want to say though, I'm thinking of it, that moment whenever she was about to stab Seven, when Borg Queen was about to stab Seven, and Girardi stops her, and it goes to that like teardrop on her hand.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I did like that.
Yeah. Teardrop saves the day cliche. The transporter fuckery. This is a tiny little nitpick. It's quite fun to see them beamed into solid rock. However, something similar has happened in TNG before, and this is a little gripe with CGI. So that was obviously CGI. The rocks were a green screen. But when this happens in TNG, they use an actual, like, they make a physical model that's cut in half and then use good angles to make it look convincing. And it looks so genuine. It looks so real, like somebody has just materialized half in and half out of something. This just looked fake as shit.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Ghost and Ride at Disney.
Yeah, it's not a good comparison. Not as in, it's not a compliment to the show. I think that's it for me, other than this will be a different timeline. Like, it's not all well and good, let's have a new Borg. If this happens, you're creating a new timeline, which may not be better than the one you're trying to get back to.
I have just a couple more, I guess, that I'll just like throw out super fast. I've kind of mentioned the not giving Seven a choice after just fighting to give Seven a choice. That was kind of a frustrating scene that I think needs to be said. in ReSINstance and in the show proper because it is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's so bad that you make part of the poignant part of your plot is to give people a choice to be assimilated because they need to have connection or they're a misfit and they need to survive.
Yeah.
And then you immediately do not give Seven a choice.
Yes.
It's such a shit thing to do. It shits on Seven. It shits on the thing that you just said.
Yep.
It eliminates my respect for that was maybe the most sinful part of this entire season.
No, I think you're right.
Because it seemed like it's like such a big deal. Like the whole, fluffy Borg idea is that they have this different approach that we as an audience are supposed to somehow respect, and you immediately do exactly opposite of what you just said you're going to do.
Or even more worryingly, that is the approach that she means, is that you only pick on species that are already dying, which has some really dangerous connotations. So you
because then the interpretation of dying is different, isn't
exactly.
it? Like
and
we're dying.
How do you know? How do you know that they're desperate? And how do you know they wouldn't rather die than be assimilated?
You need to have permission.
You need to have permission regardless. And it needs to be informed consent. They need to know exactly what they're getting into.
And if they die before they give consent because you can't figure out a way to convey it, then they die before they have a choice. Like Seven, I don't want to see Seven die.
No.
But I would rather see her die on her terms.
Mm-hmm.
And here she is now reassimilated. And it's it's answering the question of how she's gonna be the same Seven that she was before she snapped back to the reality that we're wanting to wrap up. And I get why it's happening, but it's just unless they very purposefully did not give her a choice, they're we can't actually do that for other reasons that we don't see yet. That is an incredibly infuriating thing that I would
correct,
definitely send.
Absolutely, because the picking on desperate people that have nowhere else to go, no course of action. That's how you get dictators. That's people that have nothing to lose and will follow a cause. That's dangerous. That's not a good idea to go after.
Well, but the Borg Queen's her motivations have been confusing because of all the times she has not assimilated or not killed when I don't know. I've got two more things written down. One is I guess the ship is just flying now because I didn't think that was
powered.
Yep,
it's fine.
I guess it's right now.
Fueled on the dead bodies of all of those guards.
And maybe the second most sinnable thing on this episode for me is when they all reunite. So they watch the Borg Queen fly away on the ship. They know they have been essentially defeated, and then they gather together, and it is as the most casual conversation. I would have believed the energy of that scene was more are we getting sandwiches now?
Yeah.
Than it was fuck, we just released a Borg Queen into the world. They are literally not even thinking about it.
The ink in the pen ran out for the writers. We have got 20 words or less to wrap up this episode. So everyone is going to be... So Seven knows that this is Agnes's plan, is to create a new Borg. That's been explained somehow. Seven happily communicates that to the team. They're okay with it.
No questions.
Fine. This is our only way back home. This is now a new timeline because the Borg are free.
They're
nothing.
just we gotta go.
Let's
go
to get data. The thing that doesn't. Sorry,
Dr.
not
Sung.
data. Dr. Sung. It doesn't matter. Let's go and get it and save the future. Even though we've just sent off something that is going to change the future.
I mean, it is. This is bad. This is where you're we need to get Guinan. We need to get a new Q.
Yep. Stop the Borg.
This is a stop the Borg moment.
Not stop.
This isn't
not help Europa.
Yeah. It is. That was shocking.
Baffling to me how much they are okay with the Queen getting away with La Sirena.
People who haven't even been involved in the conversation on the ship. First of all, everyone on the ship should still have some pretty major concerns, and they're pretty chill with it. But then, the new people, Rafi
not Laris,
and Rios, they're not. I guess Picard and
not Laris and Rios.
Yeah, they should be flipping their shit.
We've lost. This is
Our
it.
ship
we've
is gone.
It up. Forget Europa. That's much worse.
Picard's all right, guys, it's time to get going to the next thing. It's
it doesn't matter.
You all should just sit down and have some tea.
It's
the
Titanic has hit the iceberg, but the microwave has stopped working. Let's go fix the microwave.
That is a really important thing, guys.
We need it.
Turns out it's just not plugged in.
We need to sync it. Yeah, but it's not plugged in.
But then that leads us, it's probably just because I forgot to pay the electricity bill.
That'll be it. Yeah. Or microwaves haven't been invented yet, but time travel.
Meanwhile, the Borg Queen is out there and getting not permission. Anyway, that was really crazy.
There's no way you get permission for that. Okay. Let's head to our final stop, which is the captain's ready room. Welcome to the Captain's Ready Room, where we hear our predictions for the rest of the season and bask in our Q-like glory for anything that we have previously predicted that has come true. The final prediction section of season 2.
Well, we have to hear the one that you just had
Good
a moment
Lord.
ago.
Okay, I feel like this is the only way it can go. There's 400 years between now and when we next meet the Borg.
The
Borg. I deliberately mean the Borg. It works for about 100, 150, maybe 200 years. They go with consent. They only rescue the Delta Quadrant species that are in trouble and need help, which is why they don't expand very quickly. Something happens, they get power mad, that moral compass disappears and skewed, and they turn into the Borg that we know. So the first 200 years of Borg history is exactly what Agnes wants it to be. The following 200 gets
Not
fucked
good.
around,
Not
and
good.
it's the Borg that we know. That's the only way you preserve the timeline. And then somehow this Agnes reasserts herself when the
Because she's
Borg are
sad whenever her friends get exploded.
weak.
And
Yes,
she's able
maybe
to take
that's it.
over.
Or it's what you said earlier, that Janeway has weakened the Borg, and that allows this moral compass to reassert itself and rebuild anew. And it's just like, oh my God, you were right. This did lead to our destruction. Let's try
let Agnes
again.
lead again.
Let's let Agnes back into the driver's
and
seat.
this is the real queen.
And this is
Agnes
the
queen.
well, they're all the real queen,
right.
but yeah, the bad queen reasserts herself because this is boring, it's not working, it's too slow. And then it's at this point when Janeway destroys the Borg that Agnes
sense.
says, "Hey, shall we give it my way again because this still isn't working?"
I've just been here all along.
It's the only way I can imagine this working without fucking the timeline entirely.
I like it.
I like it enough to go with it. That's my prediction.
Let's go with it.
My goodness. Q's going to come back in and talk to Picard. Fuck it, don't care at the minute. Like, he will snap them back to the Stargazer.
As his final.
The Europa mission. But there's
There's the two.
oh man, they need both timelines to happen, don't they?
So there's the two thing going on.
The two
one
Renees.
must die and one must live.
Yeah.
So it is either my thought was that in the original Europa mission she doesn't make it, which Picard should know about. Like
No,
if she died.
because he said in like episode 3, oh, the historical archives from this period are very sketchy. We don't know anything.
So maybe something went wrong and she died. So she did make a discovery.
They don't know how she
that
dies.
she didn't
exactly.
come back.
Yes, correct.
So that part of her died,
Mhm.
but she actually goes to the future with them, and she becomes
The
part
Borg
of
Queen.
she becomes the new part of Picard. Like she is part of the future of the show.
Oh, she comes to the future and carries on the family line. That's exactly what happens.
That's what I think is. So the original timeline is protected because she doesn't actually
Oh,
return
of
to
course.
Earth, but her discovery is important. But
Yeah.
she goes to the future with them.
She has to die to make the discovery, but also comes to the future to carry on the Picard line. And that's why Q has set all of this up. Oh, that's absolutely what happens. And then we have a new TV show with Renee Picard. Oh, wow, genius. Holy shit, that could... you arse. Like, I've had the best predictions all season, and I think you now have the best one.
No, I did guess that the Borg Queen was going to be 7, and that was wrong. And then we switched it to Agnes.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember when we switched to Agnes or who said it first, but that was a pretty good one too.
Oh, it was the second the Borg Queen said, "You've done something very dangerous," which was interest me.
Interest me.
I was like, oh, she's the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
There we go. That's brilliant, because that's exactly why he makes the reference that we don't know what happened during this period of time, because he would know that Renee dies. So that has to be a mystery. And then she comes back to the future with them and starts a career in Starfleet. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Which maybe that's why Sung thinks that he's succeeded. So he backs off because he thinks he succeeded, but actually the mission didn't need Renee as such.
It just needed the discovery.
Well, that's all for predictions. I don't know how. Yeah, where else do we go with that?
Well,
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what
do you
happens.
think Rios and Picard fall in love then?
Yeah, Rios and Picard fall in love.
They're going to be great.
Yeah.
The two of them together will be so fun.
Laris and Raffi then fall in love because Raffi needs to be with somebody.
No, Laris is going to be with Picard.
No, well, you just said Rios and Picard, I think, or Raffi and Picard.
Yeah, so Rios and Renee Picard.
Oh, right. Well, there are two Picards in this
Yep,
show.
yep,
Forgive me for leaning towards Jean-Luc instead of Renee.
Pardon. So Renee Picard
Yeah.
and Rios in season 3.
Oh, of course, they fuck.
Okay,
Yeah.
they're going to be great together.
Totally fucking.
Hopefully,
That's happening.
I'm
Yeah.
already shipping them.
Yeah.
Why? Because I have a sickness of both hating love and stuff
And needing it.
and also enjoying it when it's done well.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's
yes, yes.
that one.
Uh-huh.
I think like 7 and hopefully it's going to do like the Fenris Rangers thing. I don't know that like Rafi is going to be following that. I think Rafi will stay with Picard. I don't know
Of
if
course.
7's going to be in
to the
season
end.
3.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like that's going to be. I mean, she might appear,
Who
but it
knows?
doesn't. I think Elnor is going to either be brought back to the ship dead, and so they keep him on as a hologram because I think he just makes more sense
He has the
as the
holographic
security
emitter.
thing.
You just have to. All Raffi has to do is pick up the emitter, put it in her pocket, and you have Elnor in the future, and he's now a hologram.
Hopefully, she did that before she left the ship. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because that ship is now sailed into
Yes,
space.
hopefully.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I think we'll see that. She'll like have a little wink and a nod and pick it up out of we won't see Elnor, but one of the closing scenes will be she holds the holographic emitter in her hand.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's gonna be it.
And then with Picard, I feel like since there is a season 3, our Jean-Luc Picard, he'll be a part of it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like for the end of season 2, it's going to be back on his land, back where he's made peace with the memories there.
Mm-hmm.
And he and Laris are going to have a connection, and there's
Mhm.
going to be some kind of hand holding or just a caress of some sort.
Yeah, there's gonna be some reconnection. I don't think we're gonna get the Q stuff resolved in the next episode. I predict that's gonna carry on into season 3.
I mean, unless it's just his dying wish to send them home and then he just fizzled.
I mean, that's option A.
That's
Option
that's
B
an end.
is it carries on and there's more fuckery abound. And I'm hoping that season 3 carries on from where the Stargazer
and the
explodes
Borg.
or is saved, and it stays in the present day. It's in the future. They deal with the Borg, this new Agnes Borg.
I think new Agnes Borg is going to be fun.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because I feel like they're going to try to do the thing where the Borg become part of Starfleet somehow.
Yeah,
Like
that's the
this
idea.
is their redeeming factor. This is when
Well-
they show up and they're like, "Listen, we're going to stop this thing from happening."
Well, that's what the initial not distress call, the initial call is, isn't it? It's called
Yeah.
Picard. We want to talk.
we wanna talk.
want to join the Federation.
And then it seems like they're assimilating ships, but for some reason it's not that.
Yeah,
There's like there's a misunderstanding. He sets the code to explode, and then
really, she's just trying to communicate.
she's just trying to
So I
communicate.
think
We'll
she
see.
overrides it. She overrides the
But
explosion.
we see an explosion, so maybe
we see a Q snap.
it's an explosion.
Is it?
I don't know.
I
Looks
don't
like
know.
it for me.
We'll
I don't know. We'll
see.
see.
We'll see.
All right.
Okay.
But we know it has to be a Q snap because people can't die because it's Star Trek.
Well,
You said
it's
it
Star
earlier.
Trek, and they just rebuilt the Stargazer, and I love that shit.
Can we just say thanks you guys so much for listening? We've seen like a nice little spike in the people that
Yeah.
are coming over and enjoying the
It's
show.
so great.
We've had messages from people who don't even watch Star
It's
Trek.
incredible.
Who
I
are
love it.
just enjoying us talking about it, which means a ton to us. So if you know a Star Trek fan that might enjoy this, or even just someone who might enjoy our personalities, keep sharing it because it's just been a fun little community that's been building up.
Yeah.
I think we should also just remind everyone that we do have a Discord.
Mm-hmm.
It's through CinemaSins, and there's links in our description.
Yep, links in the description, and then there's the little Captain's Pod subsection that you can just go into and play with.
Should we tease the promo?
Oh yeah,
Can we?
yeah. Okay, we
Okay,
can tease
okay,
for it.
okay,
So
okay.
we're gonna put. So obviously, we work for CinemaSins, and we've put together a little promo that's gonna go on the front of a video at some point in the future. We're not too sure when.
Hopefully next month.
Hopefully next month. But we're going to share a sneak peek of that promo in the Discord at some point. Next week, there are a few emails that we've had in that I'm going to read out as well. So if you haven't had your email read yet, hold tight. We'll get to it in next week's episode. Thank you for engaging with the show. Yeah, and lots to wrap up next week. That's very exciting. So next week is going to be slightly different. Paramount Plus absolutely does not want any of us to sleep. So Strange New Worlds debuts the day after Picard, the Picard finale. Now, we want to keep doing this weekly. We want to keep releasing an episode as the episode appears on TV. So to do that, the finale of Picard for Captain's Pod is going to be on Saturday. So we're going to watch the episode Thursday. We're going to record. We're going to release it Saturday. So you guys are going to have it 4 days early. And then Captain's Pod will continue in its regular slot on the following Wednesday, doing the pilot of Strange New Worlds, or the first episode of Strange New Worlds. So you're going to have 2 episodes next week to wrap up Picard and start with Strange New Worlds. Super exciting. Who needs sleep when you have the Borg? It's fun. Thanks for listening, everyone. It's You Don't See the tree, you only see the branch. From me.
And interestingly, another Borg quote from me, which is scraps and second chances.
Ooh, from Deneé. Doesn't that sum up my life? And as always, live long and prosper.
Thanks for listening. Want to connect with the show? Our hailing frequencies are always open through captainspod@cinemasins.com. Like, comment, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice, and be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm eating food.
What a surprise, Deneé. Every single week, we try and do a show, and you're always eating or talking about the history of Star Trek or getting off... Wait, no, that's me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope a fan felt just as triggered as I did.
Uh-huh. I have been spoiled because the internet exists.
Oh, no.
And we're actually recording on Sunday morning instead of our usual Thursday afternoon slot because Ian had a case of the Rigelian flu and
You
it
still
was
have
bad. I still pretty much have it, but I'm out the other side. I've gone from Riker in Shades of Grey, which I will explain as a reference.
Okay.
At some point, yeah. I'm going to give you the episode title. So I'm going to describe Shades of Grey or the outline. And I'm either going to make that the trek or change enough details of it that it becomes the fiction. The trick. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
So you know that this is an episode that exists.
And I
It's
know that he
either
gets sick.
As is, or I've changed it and made it bonkers. But the starting point is that Riker gets sick. Now either everything changes from there or it's the actual episode as described. But first, I'm no longer Riker in Shades of Grey sick. I'm more, Picard when he actually gets the cold in an episode. And it's really strange because Beverly is like, I think you just have a cold. And everyone's like, you haven't cured the fucking cold in 400 years? Like, what have you been doing? Computer, replicate a cure for the common cold. Shit. Why didn't anybody think of doing that?
Okay, here's an episode idea.
Okay.
Someone says that, it creates something, and then the episode is partly them deciding if or if not they're going to like inject whatever the replicator just made to test it out. And then if they do it, it goes somewhere interesting, and if they don't do it, they just have to. That's why there's no cure for the common cold.
Oh,
is because
they just didn't
nobody
trust
wants it. Yeah. But either way, the end of the episode is just a slow zoom in on the replicator.
Really sinister.
Just quietly. Like there's no music or anything. It just kind of like zooms in. And it's up to you to interpret if like the buttons are smiling or like menacing. Like you don't, there's nothing changed about it.
One flashing red light.
Which is the same as it always has been, but suddenly the show is drawing attention to it. So it's up to the person watching to determine like if it's a nefarious.
Like, you put some like spooky music behind it and it will absolutely sound nefarious. I love it. It's like at the end of Inception when the damn thing is wobbling. Or it doesn't wobble. It does wobble. It falls down.
It's
like,
definitely.
That's a fact.
It definitely kipped slightly.
So this is my problem with the ending of Inception is that when it's going and it's spinning, it never wobbles. That's the point. So the fact that it even wobbles a little bit means that it fell down. So just fucking show it falling down. Like you already have. Like you've shown it falling down. You just didn't.
Yeah, you're gonna hate the ending of this episode of My Star Trek. Then
oh no,
it's gonna be a wobble episode, right?
Especially like the next episode comes on and everything is forgotten, like everything as if that never happened. Yeah. Just move on.
You're a trooper. We tried to record on Thursday.
No, I was like, I could do this.
And both Aaron and I were in the studio, and I'm like, I will record with you because I also demand to record when I'm unwell. So I'm gonna respect that someone else wants to do that. I'm just saying, like, if we can push it a couple of days, it might be well. So here we are a couple of days later, and now you've been spoiled. So I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, I do feel a lot better. Like, as soon as we decided not to record, I fell asleep for 3 hours. So it was definitely needed. It was interesting to know what that and the episode we were going to record when we got back from Disney, what they were going to be like the fever dreams, just high on meds.
I wonder if it's the way that I've been spoiled. Because... I saw a picture. Like I saw just a one shot, like a one image picture, and I'm pretty sure it's from this episode. But I am clueless as to what it means.
Is this kind of the image?
Are you trying to make like a hologram or something?
No, sorry. So what I'm doing is holding my hands underneath somebody's chin.
Is that what you're doing?
Well, I mean, there isn't a chin, but
it looks like you're offering me like something to eat or drink.
It's the Quat Malat thing where you do like the open hands. but it's like underneath the...
No, I don't
No?
think that's
Okay,
it.
we saw a different image. Great. I'm not going to tell you what my spoiler was.
I'm not going to tell you what my spoiler was.
But fine, be like that. It's great. Okay, you ready for Trek or Triction?
I'm ready.
Because I keep going for fiction.
It's
so
great.
I'm just going to stay at Trek or Triction. Riker is unwell. He's poorly sick. They beam down for an away mission, as often happens. Deneé currently has a leaf hanging out of her face, unrelated to the podcast. It's great.
I'm listening. I'm just also eating my breakfast.
Yes, that's fair. They beam down to a planet, and Riker has been attacked by a plant, by a tree, and he's got like a little owie on his leg. And they're just like, ooh, standard procedure, Riker, we have to beam back because you've got an owie on your leg. And he's just like, fine, okay. They beam him back and he immediately slips into a coma. And during this coma, he has fever dreams where he is the captain of the Enterprise and where Deanna has married Picard and Beverly is actually a Klingon, and it's an episode where everybody gets dressed up in like you get to see like different iterations of them. So what if Data was actually human? And like I said, Beverly was a Klingon. Like what if they were different aliens on the ship?
I want to see this episode.
And it is just a fever dream going from thing to thing to thing. And then he keeps waking up. But each time he wakes up, he thinks he's woken up, but he hasn't woken up. And it'll be something strange like kind of like Parallels, the Worf episode, where something's in the wrong place and he'll realise, oh shit, I'm still asleep, I'm still in the coma. He finally wakes up from the coma, and it's in like the little wrap up at the end of the episode. They say, Riker, you've been in a coma for 15 years, and it's Data that delivers that message. And Picard and Geordi are like, Data, that's not funny. No, because Riker's like really shocked, and it's like the last little joke, and Data's like, that was an attempt at humour, Captain. Was it not funny? And Riker's just like, no, Data, not funny.
Interesting note for podcast audience who cannot visually. When he TNG babas, the literal seat bounces. It's as if he's Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. He's just bounce, 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 bounce. And there's something about the springs of the seat that you're in that just really emphasizes your height. Like you bounce, bounce, bounce.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I should probably take a little video of it and turn it into a GIF. Like this needs to be something that people...
When you hear the TNG theme come on, and it's just me bouncing.
Okay. I'm going to say that this is fiction for a couple reasons.
Okay.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Okay, I think there's some truth in it, but I think there's enough that you fudge that it's not.
Okay.
So that's why I'm going to choose fiction.
Correct.
Okay, here's where I think it's false.
Okay, I think I know where I went too far.
Okay. So at the very beginning, you say that he goes on an away mission and he gets hit by a plant and he has to go back.
Yes.
I couldn't tell if that was true or not.
Okay.
Because I also thought that you said that he left.
No.
Was that?
That's the only bit of the episode that's true.
It's amazing.
Everything else is made up. That's the bit that's true.
That's so funny. Oh my God.
It's so funny.
The way that you were talking about that one, it just seemed like for some reason that part was more of a reach than some of the rest of it. Well, as a fever dream, it kind of is funny.
Yeah.
Like in fever dream land, anything
I want this episode of Star Trek because it's a great
so
exercise
cool.
in getting everybody to do different things.
Oh man, it'd be so cool. It'd be like a cosplayer's dream. Like,
Now, I did pull from another episode kind of to influence that, where a similar thing happens to Riker and there's a time jump. But Shades of Grey specifically is, I think, up there as it's regarded as the third worst episode of Star Trek ever.
Like all Star Trek?
Probably all of Star
TNG?
Trek. And the
Holy
reason
shit.
for that is
Oh my
that they
God.
weren't entirely certain they were getting a third season. And there was a huge writer's strike when they were writing the
Okay.
end of season 2. So they basically didn't have any writers. I think they had one non-union writer. That was it. So this is like a CinemaSins script where we have one person that can write it, but it's a big, huge script that we have to get right. And it's just too much for one person to do. So when they've already written...
They brought in Bob.
Yeah, just Bob from the street, who kind of does a great job of cleaning the leaves every autumn, but they just dragged him in to write an episode. It's actually worse than that. They made it a clip show. So Riker does get stung by a thorn. He gets beamed back up to sickbay, quickly slips into a coma, and the thorn is feeding off of his good dreams. So it then replays all of his happiest moments from season 1 and season 2. They then realise that if they modulate the frequency of something, it will give him bad dreams, and the bad dreams kill the virus that's in his body. So you then see all of the negative moments that have happened. And then they realise, well, it's not just fighting and combat, it's emotional sadness. So you then see all of the emotionally sad episodes that Riker has ever had. So half of the episode is like flashbacks. And Star Trek never, ever does that. You'll have that in sitcoms where like there'll be a Friends episode where they're like, hey, remember that time? And they'll do compilation episodes. Saved by the Bell would do it as well. But Star Trek didn't do it. And everyone was like, we know exactly what shit you're trying to pull here. Don't you give that to us. So yeah, ran out of writers, ran out of time. And so they had to make a clip show. So yeah. But the show survived and came back much, much stronger. And season 3 is like the strongest season. But yeah, that is...
So that was the end of season 2?
That's the real episode. That's the end of season 2.
Okay.
There's no cliffhanger,
I thought
no
you said
nothing.
season 3 for some reason.
No. So the end of season 3 is Locutus, is Picard getting assimilated. The end of season 2 was just, we don't know if we're coming back. Here's a clip show for the last 2 seasons. Can you imagine if that's where TNG ended? It would have gone down in history as the worst Star Trek. It genuinely would have done. Because season 1 and 2 are a bit pants. There's only 2 episodes I would pull out. Time Squared, which is one that I'll do for Trek or Triction again. And Q Who, which is when the Borg are in. But yeah, the rest of it is can go eat a dog. It's weird.
Could go eat a dog with pants on?
Eat a pants dog.
It's a pants dog.
Yeah, it's pants. Pants dog. Pants dog. Alone in the world is a little pants dog.
I feel like you're singing something real and I was just making something up.
Oh no, I was singing something real. That was the intro to Cat Dog, a show on Nickelodeon. One end was a cat, one end was a dog.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember visuals of that.
Cat dog.
Wow.
Cat dog.
Wow.
Alone in the world is a little cat dog. That actually sounds like the transporter not working.
Yeah. That's me in general.
I need to like show you the sound effects for like the original when the original series. Oh my god, the original series transporter, especially in the pilot, there are like 25 seconds of noises before any fucking thing happens at all. They're just stood on the pad and I was like, boo, boo, boo. It's like a dial-up modem for the transporter. I'm gonna play it to you now. Oh, it's so fun.
Oh my god, you're so excited.
Oh, here we go. Oh my goodness, there is a 15-minute compilation of all of the Star Trek transporters through the years. I may just lose the next 15 minutes.
All right, so we're going to transport, into the future where we've listened to this. Oh my God, stop. You're so excited. He just went into full-blown T-Rex arm panic. He's so happy. This is like that moment when you can like slowly back out of someone's room and they won't notice because they're just so happy in their own world.
This is it. Did you say something?
This is the 3rd time that you said this is it.
This is it. I've now seen it.
Oh, okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
This is so exciting. Okay.
Beautiful.
It sounds so nefarious. It sounds so scary. What happened? Why was he scared? What happened?
It didn't work. Like the transporter didn't work.
Why didn't it work?
The build up is like just it's so great. There's like
and it goes
in the first Star Trek movie, they show like the first transporter accident. It makes no sense. It has nothing to do. They're beaming over somebody and they're just like, we're going to show what happens when transporters fail.
Is this what I'm watching now?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. You know how you were like talking about how clip shows are really annoying?
Shut up. The reason I show you that is because we would never watch Star Trek the Motion Picture because it is a boring ass film. It tried to like take lots of influences from 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is a great film, but extremely boring. So the Enterprise like big reveal takes 3 minutes and it's just a shot of Kirk looking at the ship, Kirk, Kirk. I'm not exaggerating. That is what happens for 3 minutes. It's just like, luckily you can't see Kirk's hands because he's absolutely masturbating.
Oh my God.
Captain's Pod, Stardate 22. Oh shit, this is from Wednesday. The wrong one. Captain's Pod, stardate 201052. No, that's not right. Still doing it wrong.
The shade that you gave me when I was just goofing off. And you can't even get your start date right.
Welcome aboard the Starship's Enterprise, and thank you for joining us as we...
I will always love you. I will always love you. I will.
Amazing. Where's my coffee?
Wherever you said it.
Oh.
Oh,
It's
am I
over
now
here.
your assistant, Captain?
It's a bit far. Could you bring it round to me?
Computer?
It's not very far.
When to beam to space? That'd be
Okay, no, you didn't specify.